Alright guys, welcome to the weapon refine analysis and review for Celica Cherche, Odin of patch 2.9. Guys on Twitch, greet yourselves. To the guys on YouTube, and YouTube guys, feel free to leave comments saying hello to Twitch. I'm sure Twitch will read those comments later, and guys can share each other lots of love. We're going to be looking at the new units today and the effects that those weapon refines have had on them. So let's get started. Remember, I am going to keep these in a manner that is appropriate for people who do not have infinite supplies. I'm going to assume that you're either free to play or low spender, and that I'll give what sort of impact on opinion that these refinements do have on these characters. So we're going to start off with Celica. And actually, Celica is probably the biggest winner out of the three refinements, hands down. She's also probably the most popular one. Her refinement, as we can see through the effect shown on screen, is she now officially has that 5 attack and speed effective all the time, no matter what, regardless of her health. And once she does fight, she loses 5 health. It's not a big deal for losing the health. In fact, we're going to actually realize that the health loss is more beneficial than it is detrimental. The secondary effect, should you choose to special refine the weapon, is going to be a brazen attack speed effect. So that's insane. You're pretty much getting 12 attack and 12 speed as soon as you drop within the 80% threshold range. That's crazy. So a base Celica pretty much is going to have over 60 attack, and her speed is going to be in the high 40s already before even considering all this sort of stuff. Once you do use it, it's just crazy. So how do we make Celica work in a way that synergizes with these new effects? Well, first of all, assuming you have a good IV Celica, which is going to be either attack or speed, with minus HP being the most optimal stuff, as we can see through the sample build shown on screen, yeah, you're going to definitely be hitting speeds over like 50 easily, and her attack is going to be reaching over 60. We already have a crazy nuker mage in the game, and that's Lilina, but the thing that separates Celica and Lilina is that Celica can pretty much double everything. Because of her high speed. The thing is, she is not likely to take too many hits, so you have to make sure you can get into that desperation range, and you're not relying on just a straight up one shot. Lilina can hit higher attack ranges and go for super one shots, while Celica has to rely on that double effect to get those kills. So the kind of playstyle you want to aim for the new Celica is aim for a target that's easy to kill. Hopefully she can take a hit, a retaliation hit, but if she doesn't, it's fine, because what I've sampled here on the left is combining Fury and Ragnarok's recoil damage, which is 10 recoil damage. 10 recoil damage brings her to 25 and activates that brazen attack speed. I actually want to point out that yes, you can use brazen attack speed and stack it, but you don't get the extra benefit of the bulk provided by Fury should you need to take a retaliation hit and you can't double. And that brazen attack speed, stacking it with brazen attack speed, is 19 attack and 19 speed. With no merges on Celica, this is a little bit overkill. Like, you're going within the 50 speed range, okay? Like, there is not that many units in the game, bar Ira, Carla, Mia, that really hit these kind of speed thresholds, and at that point, you're just wasting stats. So yeah, I wouldn't really, like, you know, comparatively speaking, I don't think that's so great when you're optimizing. I think you get a lot of firepower out of it, sure, but in a general way, you need to take a hit so that you can reach that brazen range more safely, and Fury definitely helps in not only taking that retaliation hit through distant counter if needed, or just chipping you into the damage right away. Of course. There are some cons to this as well. I think maybe even something like Brazen Attack Defense might be pretty good if you want to make her really take hits, if you feel like she can't safely kill stuff. But, you know, Fury, Brazen skills, they're all going to be pretty good in this case. The one thing I generally won't recommend here is Life and Death, unless you use Ardent Sacrifice to set up, because if you cannot get into that desperation range safely with new Celica, you're not utilizing her speed in a good way, and you're pretty much playing her like Lilina at that point. You're trying to get for one shots when she should be utilizing her speed in a way that's better. The biggest weakness to Celica right now is going to be units that can deny her that double. And thankfully, Mur is one of them, but she can probably one-shot, and a bunch of the Warrior Fighter armors that you might encounter. Now, Warrior Fighter armors are definitely going to stop her in her tracks, and that's unfortunate. That's where Lilina might shine more than Celica. But for everything else, Celica should actually output more damage than Lilina if you can secure those doubles, especially considering that the build I've shown here uses Flashing Blade and Glimmer, and that's going to be really good to pretty much scale really well off of her attack stat. And I've given her Savage Blow, so you can chip down the rest of the units should they be more difficult to kill. So that pretty much covers Celica. With merges, she becomes even better, and you can even pretty much use her with other things like Close Counter and Death Blow 4 as well, if you want to try to optimize scoring in that case, and she'll still do really well. She's not going to be scoring as much as some of the newer mages, but hey, Celica is now officially one of the best units in the game for red mages, hands down, competing with Lilina. Okay, next up, we got Cherche. So, Cherche's refinement is interesting. It's not strictly better than what her options already were, because she came with a hammer, and hammer is really good because it counters our current meta, which has a lot of armors in it. So Cherche's axe isn't necessarily an upgrade right away, but there are some things to realize. It's definitely an upgrade over the Brave Axe builds that Cherche had, so people can really appreciate that for it, because it literally is just Brave Axe, but it gives you more attack, and it has a little bit of extra HP given to you as well. Now, what is interesting here is that there is a panic effect added to it. And I think this is really good, actually, because flyers themselves generally didn't use Panic Ploy. At least I didn't really run into many or used many flyers and thought like Panic Ploy was one of the skills I would utilize on them, because you would be using stuff like Hone Flyers, Fortify Flyers, and your seals might be like Flyer Formation or Attack Seals, Speed Seals, that kind of stuff. So good thing this is a Panic Ploy effect, because I think flyers could really appreciate that sort of boost. The thing with Cherche though is her HP isn't exactly like high enough to utilize this properly, because there's a lot of armors in the game that cannot hit it. So make sure you do not drop HP should you choose to use the panic effect. If you feel the panic effect isn't getting enough value because you need more merges, or you're just not really utilizing it all too well, you can choose to forego that effect and actually use maybe something like an attack refinement or even speed refinement should you really want to push her speed with maybe like plus speed, maybe go for quad builds. I don't think it's actually too terrible if you choose to go that route. I've seen many Cherches that can reach 30 plus speed easily, and that's actually good enough for some of the slower enemies in the game. So yeah, don't feel like you have to use a special refinement. You could use attack, which can scale well with Cherche's axe, given extra attack there, or speed as well. So that all scales pretty well. Definitely what I've shown is a pretty general build. Most people probably already have this, and all you have to do is switch out the weapon. And yeah, still keep her with a Flyers team, I would say, because Flyers actually didn't have a unit that could utilize Panic Ploy that well. And finally, Omega Odin himself. Now, I don't know about this, to be totally honest with you guys. It isn't really the most friendliest refine, I would say, because while the special refine is cool and all, it's harder to utilize without somebody else also kind of positioning in position. So to use this refinement, you got to play really aggressively. What I'm saying is you probably want to like repo Odin into danger and he has to kill something. That's not exactly the ideal play style of a Blade Mage. So it's like, hey, throw Odin in, that's his buffs. Now, how do we get him out of danger? Because he's probably just going to die. So it's not the easiest one to use. You would maybe have to use like a dancer or something, which kind of makes sense, I guess. But the thing is with the refine, if you were already using Blade Mages, you might have already been using them with like tactic skills, for instance. Like Odin, one of Odin's best partners is Titania, right? With triple tactic skills, right? So like that special refinement doesn't really get that much value. Now officially, I think one of his best allies is probably a legendary Lucina, though, using the defense res link on her B slot, and then he's got the special refinement Odin that just fully buffs him, and that kind of can move him forward a little bit too if you just swap him forward with the future vision effect. Even though it is two blue units, at least one is magical hitting and one is physical. But Odin is definitely a lot better with the right setups than he was previously. So you use them the same way you've always used Blade Mages, buff them up like crazy, throw him in, kill everything. One of the greatest things, especially with his new tome though, is the loss of that cooldown reduction, cooldown like added rather than reduction, like cooldown addition. So now he can actually use Flashing Blade with Moonbow with Fury Desperation. And a lot of Blade Mages cannot do this because the lowest cooldown you would have would be 3. So you were forced into using maybe 4 cooldown specials if you tried to use Flashing Blade. Of course, you would have maybe Green Olin with her Thunderhead that could do this as well, but she wouldn't be able to use Flashing Blade. She would have to try to rely on like Heavy Blade instead because of the limitation. So Odin does have the uniqueness there, where if you're using Fury Desperation with Flashing Blade, of course you're going to buff him. So his stats may not look too good on the left side, but the thing is with Odin, you buff up all his stats by let's say 6, and then all of a sudden he's getting 30 extra damage, and his attack is 69, and his speed is like 44. So he's going to be hitting the Flashing Blade effect. He's going to be doing massive amounts of damage, and that animation, guys, that animation looks sick. So good job, Odin. Now, if you cannot utilize the Link skills too well, or if you feel it's too clunky because you have to reposition offensively or smite, if you have to do something like that, then just go for like a speed refine on his tome, and it's still going to be a better Blar Blade. I mean, one extra attack, some extra speed, and it's still going to be okay. So that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on the weapon refine analysis. Consider the builds shown as generalist builds. They're going to be taking care of most things in the game. You can be far more creative with these builds, and I definitely want to see what your thoughts are in the comments below. So let me know what you do, or which one you've chosen to refine. Are you guys looking forward to the new power banner? And is anyone on that banner a particular target of yours due to these refinements at all? I would hope it's not Cherche or Odin. Probably Celica. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Give itself one of these, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.